Alright, so I went ahead and got everything all rinsed out and clean and ready to use. This little scoop, excuse me, I went through the manual a little bit better, and this is for like the hot coffee grounds, or when you do like hot coffee, and then obviously this is for your ice. And it is pretty easy. Everything, all these are washable, and like I said, I went ahead and I already got those all cleaned out and ready to go. And so now I'm just at the point where we can get the machine ready to brew, because on obviously this neat little yellow piece of paper on the very top it says, before your first brew, wash the blender parts, you know, and like I said, I did all that. And then it just says to rinse them with mild detergent and rinse thoroughly. And then it says for the first brew, you run one cycle with only water, no coffee, and discard the water afterwards. So I'm just using the hot coffee option here, and I have, so first you choose whatever mug you want, because this back here is your water reservoir, and so you just fill up whatever mug you have. And pour that in, and try not to get water everywhere else. Right. And I do have it plugged in back there already, and so I'm going to bring you guys closer here so you can see. So pretty easy here. I'm going to turn it on, and I am hitting the hot brew button here, and it will do its thing here, and then we'll be ready to actually brew some hot coffee here. So we'll just let it do its thing here. I'm pretty excited to use it though. I do enjoy a frappe, and so having this machine is going to be really convenient. And I will say that like when I lifted up this lid to open it, it did not fit like underneath my cabinet, so, and I mean, it's not, to me that's not a big issue, but if you want your whole machine to, you know, be underneath your cabinets and stuff, your cabinets would have to be obviously a lot taller. I can say it's extremely quiet. I do like that a lot. Not that having a noisy coffee maker is a bad thing. Having a quiet one is just a nice little added feature. Yeah, we'll let it finish up its little brew thing here. And yeah, I'm pretty excited to be able to do my own frappe and stuff at home, and even iced coffee. So I'm anxious to get it going here to show y'all what it can do. And it's pretty fast too. We're already over halfway full here, so it should be just about done. And I will say the tray down here is not adjustable like other coffee makers and stuff. I know that you can usually adjust the trays to your cup height and whatnot. This one is just standard. Like there's no way to adjust it in any way, but I don't find that being a big problem. I mean, you might have a little bit of splatter around, but nothing a quick rag won't fix. So anyway, but that is how you get your coffee maker ready to go. And so now we are ready to actually brew a cup of coffee. And as you see, once it was done, the brew light turned off, and so now the on-off button is just pulsing. So yeah, let me go get some coffee and see if we can't get a cup of coffee here. So to do just a regular hot cup of coffee, you are going to first, you know, whatever coffee mug of your choice. You're going to fill it with cold water, and we're going to pour it in the water reservoir here. So I'm going to go ahead and get me a nice cup of coffee. Obviously it did that because it was still on. And anyways, let me go grab my coffee. And with this, you know, you can use whatever coffee you choose. It doesn't matter. It's entirely your preference. I know for a fact this mug is 10 ounces. So I believe on my this little scoop here, for, well, it has 8, 12, and 16 ounces. So for my particular mug, I'm going to do 8 ounces, so that is equivalent to 1 scoop of coffee grounds. Kind of like so, and I just filled it right up to the brim here. And you don't, it's up to you, but you don't have to line your reusable coffee filter with a regular coffee filter, but you totally can if you want to. So you just close the lid there, and it's really just as easy as it sounds. You're going to come down here and push the hot brew button here, and it's going to brew a delicious hot cup of coffee here. I do want to say that I like the quickness of it. It seems to be very fast when it's at least dispensing your hot coffee, so I'm anxious and excited to see how the frappe and the iced coffees are going to work here. So, first and foremost, I need a cup of coffee. I don't know about y'all, but I need to wake up a little bit more before I do anything else here. And of course, all of the parts here, I know for a fact in the manual it said that this tumbler is not dishwasher safe. I would probably just, on the safe side, just hand wash everything when you're using it, just to be on the safe side. And I know that this little silver tray down here where you set your mugs on and stuff, it is removable, so you can wash it and then you can clean out the little tray if you get coffee grounds and leftover coffee spilt in there. So another nice little piece of advice there. So, and there is no button on here to make your coffee like stronger. If you like a stronger cup of coffee, I would just add more grounds to the basket. And it isn't K-cup friendly, so I do know that there's no, you can't use a K-cup in this particular machine either. If you guys were wondering about that, it's strictly just made for coffee grounds. But yeah, that is how you brew a hot cup of coffee in your Mr. Coffee Frappe machine. Alright, so we are moving on to making some iced coffee. First of all, you will fill it up to the water line here on the tumbler. Kinda like so. And definitely pour it in the water reservoir compartment down here on the back side of the machine. Alright. And it fits just perfectly up there. Next is you're going to go ahead and use the large end of the scoop here to fill it with coffee grounds. I need to empty this out really quick. Okay, now that's all emptied out. Don't mind my daughter, she is wanting me to come play, so She might be a little noisy in the background, so. And this is what one heaping scoop looks like on the large sides. It is definitely a lot more, but that's quite alright because it's a bigger mug anyway. Alright, and so now I have that. And then obviously the next step would be to add the ice in here. And there is the ice line clear up at the top, so I'm going to go ahead and fill that up. And I am using just regular ice cubes today. I know in the past I've made some videos with my reusable ice cubes, but I'm going to go ahead and do it the old-fashioned way with the good old regular ice cubes. Whoopsie, maybe if I can get it in there. Do a couple more just to get it all the way to. Alright, that looks pretty good to me. And then we're just going to set that underneath there. And as simple as it is, we push that, or put it underneath the little spout thing. We're going to turn the machine on. It is still plugged in from earlier. And instead of the hot brew button, I'll show you guys up here. So instead of the hot brew, we are doing it over ice. And so I'm going to go ahead and let that do its thing and set you guys back up here so you can have a front row seat. And once it's done brewing, or even possibly before, I think that's when you can add in like all of your like flavorings and stuff. Let me see if I can get over in the instruction manual here. And I do, as I'm going through the instruction manual, I did want to say on page number 7, it does tell you which parts are dishwasher safe. And believe it or not, the blender jar is dishwasher safe. So this jar is dishwasher safe. And then the reusable coffee filter and the brew basket. So that's good to know. I know I said earlier that I wasn't sure which ones were dishwasher safe or not. So let me just see. Yeah, it says on page number 9 of the instruction manual, when you're making your iced coffee, it has very simple instructions. And it says once it's all brewed, that's when you can add in your flavorings for your coffee. And once again, it's a really quiet machine. It is definitely doing its thing, as you can see here, so. And I don't see, obviously, I don't see a lot of the ice cubes melting. I know that obviously these two up at the top are going to be the first ones to melt down a little bit. And as you can see, they did actually melt down just a tiny bit. So that's the only, I don't want to say negative about using regular ice cubes versus, you know, reusable ice cubes, is you are going to have it watered down just a little bit using regular ice cubes. I don't see it making a huge difference, but by all means, if you want a stronger coffee, you could definitely add in like a little bit more, maybe even like an extra like half scoop if you wanted to. Totally up to you though, but it is pretty much all done here. I'm going to wait until it really stops. Yeah, it's totally done because the button down here that was on, it has turned itself off, so it is definitely complete with the cycle. And then you have your awesome straw that it came with. I'm going to give it just a little mix. And yeah, so at this point, now that it's done, you can definitely mix in. And all of the ice cubes that I have put in there, the majority of them are almost completely dissolved at this point, just because of the pure fact that it was piping hot coffee that was pouring over the ice cubes. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a little taste. And to me, that is actually pretty darn strong for having just regular iced coffee. But yeah, that is how you brew some iced coffee in your Mr. Coffee Frappe machine. Alright, I am officially ready to move on to the frappe making in my Mr. Coffee Frappe machine. And as you can see, there's a lot of steps in here, but I don't think it is too terrible to follow. It seems pretty easy. Nonetheless, you do still have in your user manual on page number 8, it does break it down for you step by step. Yeah, there's 14 steps, but it's really simple. And obviously the first two are saying, you know, make sure your machine's plugged in. And we're going to actually fill the blender jar with water. And so we're going to go ahead and fill it to this little mark right here. And it does say to use clean filtered water. So, I know there we go. I just want to show you, that is where the watermark is right there. So I'm going to go ahead and pour that into here, into the water reservoir. And then step number 3 is just saying lift the lid and pour the water into the reservoir. So very, very thorough and easy to follow here. And we are going to be using step number 5 here, because number 4 just says place the reusable filter basket in there, so I already obviously have done that. Step number 5, it says using the iced side of the coffee scoop, which is the bigger side here, it does say to pour 2 scoops of coffee. So, and again, that might sound like a lot to you. It does to me. So, but we are going to be making a frappe. So, there's 1. Alright. And 2, the second scoop is obviously a little fuller than the first one, but that is quite alright. I'm going to just stick that back on the side there. Okay. So I got that part done. Move my little water thingy over there. And then step number 6 here, it actually tells you to fill the blender jar with milk to the milk line, which is all the way down here. So let me go grab my milk. And you can use whatever kind of milk you prefer in here. So we have just good old whole milk, so. Alright, and there is some milk. You see I did fill it just a hair above the line. I don't think that'll make a huge difference, but we'll see here in just a minute. And then it says to fill, step number 7 says to go ahead and fill the blender jar with ice after you put milk in it. So let me grab some ice cubes here. Alright, and so we're going to be filling it to the ice line on the jar here. So, and obviously for using the frappe part, this little blender, I would use just regular ice cubes. Do not use reusable ice cubes, because that obviously is going to be a huge mess. But, now the question is, can I break my ice cubes to get them out of my tray? And the answer is no. I'm going to add at least 1 more cube in here. I'll just take a peek here. Yeah, that 1 extra ice cube is just sticking up a little bit there, but again, I don't think that's going to make a huge difference. So, and then step number 8, place the blender jar full of ice and milk under the brew spout. So obviously we're getting ready to do some brewing of the coffee now. And it says to have the machine, it's obviously still on, and we're going to press the brew over ice button here. And we're going to let it do its thing before we move on to the next part here. while it's brewing, I did notice, which is kind of a neat little feature, the little lid part of the blender jar has measurements in there for when you're adding your mix-ins, like your syrups and sugars and stuff. There is like a 3 tablespoon mark, 2 and 1 tablespoon mark on the inside of the lid, or yeah, the lid. So that's really unique. I hadn't seen anything like that before, and that'll make it easier because in that way you can really judge like how sweet you want it to be. And it does actually say in the manual that using sugars and sweeteners actually helps the whole blending process when you're making a frappe. And it also goes into, on the facts page, it actually goes into detail as far as like why your ice cubes are melting and things like that, and they have it down to like a science. So it's actually pretty informational on the little facts page if you ever have questions about certain things. And it was, I mean, I learned a lot actually just from the few little tidbits that were in this manual here. So okay, I think we're done with the brewing. We got a few little drips going here. It does say wait 3 to 4 minutes for brewing to complete on step number 9 here. And it says once dripping slows and stops, grab the blender jar from underneath the spout. And then it has a little side note here just saying a few sparse coffee drips may come from the drip spout post brew. The drip tray will catch these and keep your countertop mess free. And then I'm on step number 10 here. It says to pour desired syrups, flavorings, or mix-ins into the blender. And then it also has a little tidbit here that says sweet tips. And then it just says syrup or sugar of some kind greatly impacts the frosty consistency of the frappe. We recommend following one of our favorite recipes in the recipe book. And then obviously you can do that, or you can do your own. And then also the other little sweet tips. It says use the blender cap as a measuring device to measure 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons, or a 1/4 cup. So we are officially ready to add in the mix-in. So we're going to go ahead and slide him out from under there. I'm going to do a mixture, and again, this is just what I'm going with just to try it out. I'm doing a mixture of caramel-free sugar, let me try that again. Caramel, sugar-free caramel syrup, and then I also have vanilla sugar-free syrup. And I'm going to go ahead and just do, I'm going to use my lid and do 2 tablespoons of this caramel. And we're going to just do kind of like so. And then I'm going to do about 1 tablespoon of vanilla. Again, I'm just winging it here. So we're just going to do a little bit in there, kind of like so. Alright. So there's a couple mix-ins for my frappe. And then it says place the blender lid, obviously, on the jar. And that you just push down. It doesn't necessarily like lock into place or anything. I'm just going to turn it to make it secure, a little more secure for my liking. And it says place the blender jar on the blender mount. Twist the handle to the left to lock it into place. So, let's see if I can get this locked into place without... Okay, and that was, it is definitely locked into place here. And then it just says step number 12 is press the blend button, and it will, the blender will automatically blend your frappe to the perfect consistency. And then 13 says when blending is complete, remove the lid and pour your frappe into the tumbler or whatever mug of your choice. So, cross our fingers, here we go. I'm going to push the blend button here. So that's really neat. As you saw, I didn't have to press any buttons. It basically just did it all on its own. And it, like it just said in the manual, it blends it to the perfect consistency. If you decide that it's not quite what you want, you can definitely just push the pulse button and it'll go ahead and continue blending. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pour this in the tumbler so we can all have a good look at it here. But that is really neat. I love that it, you know, just does its own thing. And as you can see, it's pretty thick, so you can probably see, oh, that's kind of neat. So I probably would put a few more, or pulse it just a couple more times, because you saw that was a little, I don't want to say chunky, but I mean, it definitely was a tiny bit chunky there, and I probably overfilled this a little bit, but that's alright. For the first time around, that's what I was going with here.
It could have not been that long and they just tired themselves out.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you make your own homemade frappe in your Mr. Coffee Frappe machine. And yeah, I probably, next time around, I'll probably pulse it just a little bit longer, because it is still a little chunky, but man, it's delicious. So there you have it.